Seemed it worked.
That's we're live.
All right, we're live. So, welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Show. Sorry I don't have an intro video ready. I was supposed to have it ready, but the internet was being funky. But we will have it ready for the next episode. We are going to talk about conspiracies. We're going to talk about theories. We're going to talk about conspiracy theories and everything in between. GQ of those people here, and I am joined with Savage. Go ahead. You can start first.
Savage, please.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him? Introduce yourself,
here.
Sir Savage.
We lost him.
Ooh. See? We're off. I'm sorry.
See, the internet gods are trying to mess with us here.
Let's go to the person that birthed this idea in the first place, Mr. Rob.
How's it going, guys? I'm crazy.
I want to say that I'm sane, but let's be honest, you've seen me before, so my mind doesn't work normally. Is what it is.
There's a reason you're a friend. You
and
I
know
are
what?
friends.
Okay. Perfectly okay.
GQ?
GQ, you okay, buddy?
The aliens are going for GQ's brain.
I'm telling you, man, if this is left between me and Robbie, we're going down a rabbit hole.
Oh. We'll keep it going.
Yeah.
You just might not have a coherent product.
There it goes. Okay, well, I guess Robbie's the captain now.
There we go. He's back. Captain's back.
Let's start telling people exactly what predictive programming is.
Who's explaining? You cut out.
Oh, did I? Okay. So
yeah, you kind of cut off there.
If possible, Sir Robbie, can you let the people know just a brief synopsis as to what your personal definition of predictive programming is?
So, predictive programming is when higher powers behind the curtain, whether it be a shadow government, the Illuminati, whatever crazy conspiracy you choose to believe in, influences the media to include plot points of future events.
Yes.
Not to be confused with nature. I can't remember the actual scientific term, but nature versus nurture. Now, we might still go down that rabbit hole, though.
We might. So what are some super popular examples that maybe the general public may have seen? And then after that, we'll talk about some that are lesser known. But talk about some popular ones, like, for example, The Simpsons, of course.
I was going to say, 1/4 of The Simpsons episodes, like Donald Trump winning the presidency, that was huge.
Yeah. Even down to how it looked when
the
coming down the escalator.
That was
the select committee
Sorry. The escalator picture was the most uncanny to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looked as if it's like somebody traveled in time, saw exactly how it would look, and then did that exact illustration in The Simpsons.
There are people that believe there's a writer on The Simpsons that's a time traveler. Like that is a cult. That is an actual cult that believes that because of how accurately they not just predict but portray certain future events.
Yeah, it's very creepy. It's very creepy.
Matt Groening is a Time Lord. This has been established.
Time Lord, Time Variant.
Time Variant. I almost feel like, well, before I even get into that, why do you think predictive programming exists?
Why do I?
And I'll share what I think in a minute.
Oh, I know exactly why it exists. It's the same reason that like the Pentagon waited until COVID was at its peak to admit that they have had any type of interaction with anything that might be classified as a UFO. So people are numb to it. Like, we're too busy. Everybody's too busy worrying about COVID. There was a report like 3 weeks ago where the Pentagon has said that different branches of the military have had multiple interactions with, what is it called? It's not called UFOs anymore. UAVs, I think is what the military calls them now. Unidentified aerial vehicles.
So, yeah.
But they know they're getting screwed with, and they can't do anything about it. But like, think of, in a non-COVID world, that would cause mass hysteria. This predictive programming is the same thing, at least in my mind.
Hold on, I got to get the door real quick. Continue.
Justin, I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, so on the topic of predictive programming, I guess it would be important to also talk about the origin of predictive programming. So I believe you and I were talking about when we were doing our research on this, we found the same article. So the whole thing about predictive programming was first described and researched by a guy named Alan Watt. And so what I was reading there, it also mentioned how predictive programming does a great job of, it does a great, how do I put this? Sorry, my English is really bad today. There's a lot of influence in predictive programming with science fiction, especially. So like we were talking about initially with Star Trek and tablets, and Star Trek and FaceTiming, and pretty much Star Trek in general.
Being able to talk to somebody through a watch. That was
right, yeah,
wasn't it? Was that the Jetsons?
That was that was a lot of different things. That was James Bond, Inspector Gadget, so many different things where you have computerized watches. Nowadays, you're just like, oh yeah, Apple Watch, whatever, Samsung Watch, what have you? Who cares? We can all talk to people on our watch. Power Rangers.
Power Rangers.
I think it's almost like it's a desensitizing situation where they feel like certain things that the government feels are maybe too much of a shock to the general populace to just straight up tell them, that they'll try to sneak certain things in narrative storytelling and TV shows and movies, because there are shows out there that actually get members of the CIA to go to them and say, hey, listen, put this in your storyline, put that in your storyline.
Do you have an example
of that show that was a spinoff of the X-Files, The Lone Gunman?
Wait, what?
There was a show that was only one season long called The Lone Gunman. And they actually had CIA consultants give the storyboard runners story plot points for their episodes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's not terrifying at all.
I'm going to be rude and get on my phone for a minute just so I can put in a note, because I want to see this show now.
Yeah. Yeah.
True. Actually, let me write that down.
I was watching a couple of I was watching just back-to-back videos about predictive programming on YouTube, and that's one of the shows that they mentioned. So now, just like Robbie, I need to go and check out that show as well, because now I'm super curious.
So actually, while we were on the topic of also defining what predictive programming is, so what I found as the definition of it, or at least a definition of predictive programming, is that it's a subtle form of psychological conditioning provided by the media to acquaint the public with planned societal changes to be implemented by our leaders. And if and when these changes are put in to action, the public will already be familiarized with them, and they'll accept them as natural progression, thus lessening the public resistance and commotion. Which, if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Things like any kind of new technology. If you had made, say, social media 100 years ago, people would be a lot, without the science fiction or anything to push it through to make it seem more normal, people would be a lot more resistant to put their own information online like that. But now, with the influence of movies, shows, and everything, you're just like, oh yeah, let me just
any further than certain movies like Enemy of the State, Eagle Eye, Snowden. the Echelon Conspiracy, all those movies kind of give you an inside look as to how we can be watched without even us knowing.
Man,
like
people call Edward Snowden a traitor, but that man is a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's another thought. Like Star Wars, one of what people call a big plot hole nowadays is how did they forget about the Jedi so quickly? Star Wars' world did not have social media. Like, it was very easy to funnel information.
Yeah.
True. If they burned the books, then no one would ever know that Jedi existed.
Yeah.
Especially in the mid rim or in the outer rim. The core worlds, you'd have probably had a harder problem, but we don't know all of Star Wars.
On planets like Coruscant, it wouldn't be easy to forget, but somewhere like Tatooine, it'd be forgotten within a generation.
That's true. But in contrast to our world, it's very hard to lose stuff because internet.
Everything is digitized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And everything that we do could be watched by anybody at this particular point. Anybody that either works for the government or is just a really good hacker and is very nosy.
That's why, like, I'm not even kidding. I have electrical tape on my laptop's webcam at all times. I use a external webcam whenever I come on to this, just so that I don't have to undo that thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think some laptops come with that little slider cover too.
Mm-hmm.
Just for that same reason. Fun fact, though, guys, the NSA, their database archives is in Utah, out in the middle of nowhere in the desert.
Oh, well, of course, that's the best place to have them.
Yeah, nothing
bad. Where they don't think anybody's going to go.
Who's gonna come invade them? The Mormons? No.
We're gonna leave. Well, we also have the second largest stockpile of nuclear weapons at Hill Air Force Base.
Wow, it's kind of impressive. That's kind of impressive.
Again, it's just like the government. We have part of what used to be Area 51 out in the middle of nowhere out here. We've got the NSA, and we've got a ton of nukes. Like,
Utah is a sketchy place, man.
Government-wise, yes, it is. It very much is. You can't trust them stupid Mormons.
Well, I think they go on mission.
Exactly. What do you think I was doing for those 2 years? I mean, I'm kidding, guys. That was a joke. For those on the internet that can't interpret jokes, that was a joke.
I don't know, man. You might have just given Matt Stone and Trey Parker thoughts for the next Book of Mormon musical.
Can we not talk about that piece of garbage?
Oh. So, what do you think about the possibility of maybe these people that are sharing these stories with these movie directors and TV show directors and show frontrunners? Do you think that maybe they signed an NDA, so technically they couldn't really say, okay, this is what's really going on? So what they'll do is they'll disguise it as, hey, I have a story idea. Here you go. Maybe you should put this in your movie or put this in your show. It'll be really cool.
Absolutely.
You don't need an NDA when you have a gun to your head.
That's fair.
That's fair too.
Your cell phone is a listening device. I'm pretty sure any NSA agent could hack into your phone, listen to what you're saying. If you let anything slip,
I think they already have clearance.
Yeah. So if they know that you're disclosing their stuff, you can get a drone strike on your house, and it'll be called a training accident.
Oh, of course.
Or you'll commit suicide in prison.
Oh, of course.
Commit suicide.
That's kind of that seems to be the popular thing nowadays.
Like,
you get arrested and then you're in a jail and you can't take anymore, so you just end it all.
Like John McAfee?
That's a whole different story.
That is a whole.
I'm sure. Do we really want to go down this rabbit hole? Do we really want to do this?
I mean, all for going down.
Isn't that the whole point of this podcast?
Are we doing the John McAfee discussion? Are we doing this?
I am more than willing to go down that rabbit hole. He didn't kill himself.
Yeah. First of all, he said.
First off, he just knew too much.
From the very beginning, he straight up said, "Listen, if anybody ever says that I've committed suicide,
they're lying.
They are lying because I am not suicidal. That's number one. Number two, his antivirus software was installed on so many computers, including government-issued computers. And in that software, he was able to track a lot of the corrupt activity that a lot of these government officials were doing. So he gathered a lot of this information. And I think the first mistake he made was letting people know that he had this information, right? So later on, he posts a tweet. I think it's on record. He posts a tweet. If anything ever happens to me, I have terabytes of information of corrupt activity on a hard drive north of, it was somewhere in Miami, but it just so happened to be around that same location where those buildings were destroyed. And then they said they had to destroy the other side of the building to make it safer. What? It sounds to me like, they were getting rid of evidence to me.
That man had backups. I guarantee it. I guarantee you they think they destroyed it. He had backups. We're about to get some crazy news stories over the next year or so.
This dude's backups had backups. Any proper computer genius will have so many backups that if that, say like his information was tied to that building somehow, that building collapses, something gets triggered in some system somewhere, and boom, it gets sent to the LA Times or whoever.
He had fail-safes. I think he had fail-safes set in place to which if something like that were to ever happen, if one location with a lot of his evidence was destroyed, there would be a fail-safe that would release the information elsewhere.
Absolutely.
But
he was too smart to not have anything planned on top of the one backup.
Accidental predictive programming. I do believe they meant to release this information, but they released it a year earlier than they meant to. Right. The game's Deus Ex, the original one, not the Human Revolution trilogy, the ones from the late 90s. Okay. They're the World Trade Centers were not rendered in. And then they added in on a patch note where you could read a story of a terrorist attack that bombed them via airplanes in September of 2001. It was that specific.
Yeah, that is kind of creepy.
Only gamers would know.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
but
not to mention, are we going to talk about all these different shows that alluded to the Twin Towers being destroyed? Some of these cartoons, some of these Looney Tunes, where they're like, the towers, they're falling. This was really old. This was
in the 50s, wasn't it? 60s?
Yeah, it had to around that time.
It was the same consistent it's that episode that they try to hide, kind of like Nazi Donald for Disney.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wait, what?
There's a couple of things, man, that it just straight up said.
There's a Nazi Donald episode?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
You didn't know about this?
Forgive me. I have to check my mobile device.
Man, look, Donald was, Donald has PTSD.
I mean, I can believe that. Dude dressed like a sailor all the time for a reason. He was actually in the war.
I think that's how he damaged his vocal cords, maybe.
Well, he smoked a lot in the early Disney episodes. He really did.
Oh, okay. So he smoked and probably damaged it in battle, and that's why he can't really talk like the other Disney characters.
What was
that? Makes sense.
But yeah, it's kind of like, how the whole Star Wars holiday celebration, there's only 10 copies left in existence because George Lucas bought them all up and burned them.
Yeah.
It's kind of
almost like he was embarrassed.
He was.
It's almost like it sucked.
Carrie Fisher owned one of them.
Almost like it sucked.
Carrie Fisher owns one of them, or did own. Now her daughter owns it. But Carrie is like, her joke was, I kept my copy because anytime, like, I would just turn it on anytime I wanted my company to leave. And she said that to George Lucas's face.
That's funny.
That is the most messed up thing to say about a film that you yourself have been in.
She admitted it was
terrible.
terrible.
Is so bad, I put it on just in case I wanted my guests to leave.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
At least she knew how to get people out.
She did.
So I'm going to take us down another crazy, crazy rabbit hole. Hang on. I got to pull up the story. I got to pull up the story.
While you're pulling that up, there's another one example of this that I saw that really surprised me. So there's this book called Futility, written in the 1890s, where they were talking about a ship called the Titan that was sunk by an iceberg.
Really?
Yeah. So, and then when did the Titanic happen? The 20s? 30s? I'm not really sure.
I heard a different story. I heard that there was some other ship called the Olympian.
Oh, this story where the boats were flip-flopped?
The boats were switched. The boats were switched. And really,
the Olympian
that they're saying that sunk, that they're saying that the Titanic sunk, was really the Olympian.
Like they swapped the boat. Whoa. They swapped the boats because the Olympian was incomplete and they ran out of money.
Yes.
And they were trying and that's the real reason that they were short on lifeboats. The structural integrity of the hull was so poor because even an I've read stories as well. An ironclad should have been able to take that hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think that a ship like the Titanic, judging by its unsinkable reputation, would have had to pass an insane amount of inspections.
You would think.
But then I also think it was a little bit of an act of God as well, because didn't they say this ship was so unsinkable that God himself couldn't sink it? And God was like, hold my beer.
Well, do you want to go dark? You want to go dark? Should we go dark on this one?
Talk to us.
So on board the Titanic, the 5 biggest opposers of the formation of the Federal Reserve were on board that boat.
Wow.
The 5 biggest opposers of the formation of the Federal Reserve were on board the Titanic. I
did hear that somebody else was supposed to be on there.
Eccles.
But knew what was going to happen and didn't go on the ship because of that.
Eccles. Or Jekyll. Mr. Jekyll. Mr. Jekyll and Robert Morgan were supposed to be on there. And if Robert Morgan sounds familiar.
Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Chase, the guy from Chase Bank.
JP Morgan Chase.
JP Morgan.
So. Which, fun fact, I don't know if you realize this, that was the merger of the Rockefellers and Morgan's financial institutions. Because Chase Manhattan was founded by John D. Jr. I
believe you just broke me, man.
Yeah. Only the first episode, and our heads already hurt.
Have you guys read the book The Creature from Jekyll Island?
I have not. I maybe want to now.
The Creature from Jekyll Island.
I'll write that down. Because I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks as of late, so might have to go that one next.
The Creature of Jekyll Island, you said?
The Creature from Jekyll Island.
The Creature from. Creature from.
Okay.
Jekyll. There it is.
So, I'm going to do the story. We talked about this a little bit in the group chat, but this is I kind of believe the actual scientific basis of predictive programming. Like it's a variant. This is a variant. Like predictive programming is kind of a variant. It's the idea. What's the word for it? Genetic programming.
Okay.
So nature versus nurture, like we are pre-designated to be who we are based on our genetics. And there was an experiment done by an Ivy League out in New York University where they took multiple groups of twins and one group of triplets, and they intentionally had the adoption agency split them up. These were all children that were said to be adopted.
Okay.
The reason we know about this is because the triplets, Edward Galland, David Kellman, and Robert Schafrin, if I slaughtered their last names, I apologize, all discovered each other. So David...
So are they saying that they were predestined
to behave
to reunite?
No, to behave a certain way. They all, when they came to get, like, the records are still sealed. The researcher that did all of this sealed the records. I can't remember what Ivy League school, but they will not be released until 2062. So after all the kids are dead, because this project happened in the 60s. But David and Edward ended up going to the same university.
Interesting.
And so Eddie was well liked by everybody. And so when this kid shows up, they all think he's Eddie. And he's like, I'm not Eddie. And so Eddie's former roommate comes banging on his dorm door that day and goes, were you born on this day? I think it was July 9th, 1968. And he goes, how the heck do you know my birthday? He goes, were you adopted? Okay, seriously, dude, you're freaking me out. How do you know all this? He goes, I think I know your twin. And I think you guys were separated at birth. And they said they knew instantly that they were twin brothers.
Wow.
And then this made the news in New York. And then the triplet saw the news article and was like, I'm brothers with these guys too. That's my birthday.
That is both cruel and just ridiculous.
Wow.
God damn.
Let me see if I can look up the name of the... Hang on. I've
also heard of similar experiments done on twins where they'd find twins who were separated at birth and then found out that their personalities were very similar. Like they dress the same, they'd have similar fashion sense. They'd have, even if they wore glasses, they'd choose similar type of frames. They also behave similarly, and even though they had never met, they never even knew each other existed. But
so in a sense,
they were predetermined to be a certain way.
So in a sense, are they debunking the possibility of people developing their personalities based on who they're around and who raises them?
That was part of it.
So it was part of a nature versus nurture study. And
all three of the kids were in different socioeconomic households.
Okay.
Like middle class, upper middle class, and then Eddie's dad was a doctor, like neurosurgeon type doctor. And so they wanted to see how socioeconomics, but there was one that was such a people pleaser that when the brothers started fighting, he didn't know how to handle it, and he ended his own life.
Shit.
Wow.
Like, it was... And both the other brothers blame the adoption agency for taking the money to split them up.
Obviously.
Yeah. I get that.
People do some cruel things in the name of science, man.
I always wonder, like, what is the end goal for, some of these studies? Like, once you discover what your, I guess, theory is, once you find out what the fact is, then what?
I don't know. I'm trying to find this.
Because a lot of these studies have to be done over decades, right?
Yeah.
So that they can, they have to measure the kids throughout the years, as many as 20, 30 years to see how they develop, how they turn out, what their behavior's like, what their speech patterns are like in some cases, like depending on what kind of study they're doing.
And they completely
it's all just, and they just ruin these people's lives just so that they can get some answers. But yeah, the end goal is what? So you can get published, so you can get a Nobel Prize.
Well, the guy didn't want the records revealed until after he was dead. But this
that's because he knew that whatever he was doing was an absolute heinous act.
Amoral.
And he probably would have been hanged for it.
But via the adoption agency, they sent doctors and psychologists out to interview the kids periodically, saying that it was checkups from the agency.
It makes me wonder, what are in some of these vaccines that they put in children, especially as of lately, that are causing so many skyrocketing rates when it comes to ADHD, when it comes to autism, when it comes to so many different things.
Well, that's a tough one, because if we're talking about ADHD especially, that can also be a product of the fact that people are growing up now more than ever with so many distractions around them.
So before we go into this, I can't remember what law it was, but I remember it was in either 87 or 89. Congress passed a law where you cannot sue a vaccine company for side effects.
Oh yeah. And once that was in place, they took off. They took off.
Side effects skyrocketed.
Oh, we can give this out and nobody can sue us. Oh, let's have a field day.
Also,
and then you also can't sue the CDC because they're the frickin' CDC, even though they're the ones who approve that shit.
Yeah, the CDC was the one who wrote the law. Congress put it through. Lobbyists from the big pharmaceutical companies offered generous donations to congressmen's campaigns.
Generous donations, huh?
That is how it was phrased. Generous donations.
It's just campaign money. They're not trying to buy favors.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, that wouldn't be,
that's illegal, guys.
It would be unethical.
Yeah,
that's bribery. That's illegal.
Because let's be honest, the United States is built on ethics.
Yes, truth, justice, and the American
way.
Fun fact.
Honestly, that's why I like Superman Red Sun. They made him Soviet, and I was like, hey, das vidanya, bitches.
Fun fact for you guys. The story of Isaiah Bradley was based on the hepatitis experiments done during the Korean War on black soldiers.
Oh, I thought it was based on the Tuskegee experiment.
Yeah.
Was it? Because they imprisoned, or they kept black soldiers and used them for hepatitis experiments.
It might be the same thing.
It might be, yeah. It might be one and the same.
Because I'm not sure what exactly they injected the Tuskegee Airmen with.
It's all messed up. I told you, GQ. I told you we were going down many a rabbit hole.
Forgive me for not knowing people. I wasn't educated in the United States. In my defense.
I was, and I just forgot.
You have no excuse.
I just forgot what was. But you know what? They didn't really push a lot of detail when it came to that. They just kind of said, "Oh, the Tuskegee Airmen were great. Move on to this other thing," and it was like they didn't want too much attention on it when it comes to the history books in our schools. And it's almost like, I wonder if somebody can go to schools and release the how do I put it? Like an unreleased,
like an unofficial
history book of all the things they won't tell you in the standard history books.
Well, that's why so many people are now fighting against quote unquote critical race theory, even though I don't know why they even call it that. It should just be called the actual history of the United States. Deal with it, assholes.
Yes.
It's not an alternative history. It's the actual history that they're not teaching you in your current history books. For example, I was actually talking to someone about this a couple of days ago, how when they're covering things like Manifest Destiny, they talk about how, all these Hawaii, all these other states, they fulfilled their destiny by joining the United States. But then when they talk about Rosa Parks, you have maybe one photo and like a small paragraph about her, and move on.
That's another thing. They make sure that all of those pictures during the civil rights era, they make sure that they either put it in black and white to make it look older than it actually was, or put it in sepia. So just to kind of give people the false sense of, oh, that happened so long ago.
Yes.
When really it didn't.
That really peeves me. Like all this civil rights stuff that happened less than 100 years ago, people talk about it like it's ancient history.
It's not. Can I give my 2 cents on critical race theory? Because I have a very strong opinion.
Okay.
I do think it should be taught, but I do not trust the public education system to teach it.
Agreed.
I think it should be taught in the home. I think it should be taught by do you run the risk of racist parents refusing to teach it? Yes, you do.
Absolutely. Of course.
But their kids were gonna come home and they were gonna indoctrinate them anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't trust the public education system to not try to turn it into some sort of agenda. I don't.
No, I can see that.
Like, I'm holding a ball of tinfoil that I was wearing on my head as a joke, but I've watched it too many times. Like, did you guys watch? What was it? What was that movie called? Jamestown, the one with Matthew McConaughey in it. Took place during the Civil War.
Describe it.
So it was a movie that took place during the Civil War, and this reverend in the South was taking in refugees that were freed slaves. But it kept jumping back and forth between the Civil War era and the 70s, where this couple were trying to get permission to get married. So I'm not going to say it because it's going to sound crazy. But if you remember in the court case, I want to say they were true, and it stood out to me, and I thought it was bizarre. But the law was written that Irishmen could not marry with Africans.
Wow.
And it was specific to Irishmen, which I then found out that was how most of the segregation laws in the South were written. They were written well into the late 16, early 1700s. I'm going to let you guys look up why that is the case.
Why they wouldn't allow specifically Irish people?
Irish. And I'll remind the audience that the white slaves that were kept in America were Irish.
Mm.
I'll leave that to you guys because I'm not saying it.
It's
really? Hold on.
It's almost like at the time, the Irish were the Negro of the white people.
Since you're not going to tell us, what should I search to find the answer? Irish were not allowed to be with
Irish Irish and African segregation laws.
Okay, Irish and African.
Also, I just looked up the Tuskegee Airmen thing. With them, it was syphilis.
It was
that's what it was.
That they were treated with.
But I almost wish segregation laws were written for just pure racism, versus what some of these segregation laws were written for. It's much darker. Humans are sick.
Honestly, if you want to talk about real dark ass laws that were written that were just straightforward, the Articles of Confederacy. Those guys were assholes, but they were straightforward about what they were talking about.
I hope that when you guys are searching for these, that you're not using the Google browser, that you're using DuckDuckGo.
Right. Correct.
I've been using Ecosia.
Because Google and Bing, like the more popular search engines, will filter out what you're really trying to find.
They will.
So now, so to your point, Robbie, so I'm over here on DuckDuckGo. The first result that popped up is the divide between blacks and the Irish. So now I'm very curious as to.
Because remember, the Irish were kept as slaves as well.
Yeah.
Right.
This is another interesting thing that history censors out. In the 1920s, during the Depression, when people were looking for employees, all we see are the signs of help wanted unless you're black, but it looks like the sign's kind of cut off. If you look at the rest of the sign, it was unless you're black or Irish. Up until probably the 50s or 60s, people put the Irish and the African Americans in kind of that same former slaves, you're not educated, we don't want you.
So I'm trying to read through. I'm gonna have to just save this so that I can read it.
I'll see if I can find the articles. I'll send them to you, but it gets dark.
But I'm looking for that, like, that thing that you're referring to, because I know you're alluding to something that you want me to find. I'm trying to find that thing.
I ain't saying it. Like, I'll say a lot of crazy stuff.
Yes.
This is factual. I ain't saying it because it's gross.
Really?
Shit.
Okay, hold. I gotta find this now. Now this is gonna bother me.
I'm just gonna message it to you, GQ, and if you want to say it out loud, you can.
Okay.
Oh, please do.
Okay, that
There's
works.
nothing I won't say out loud. You know I have no filter.
Justin has no filter. So, racial tensions. I'm actually kind of afraid to find out what this is.
I know this is awkward to do on a live stream, guys, but like we kind of went there and I thought of it. I'm like, I can't say this.
Hey, once you go there, there's no going back. We might as well jump right in head first.
I sent it.
They were okay. So, in other words, Black people and Irish people were considered livestock.
Correct.
Wow. Wow.
And I'll use this analogy. You know how if you take a certain type of Angus with, I believe it's cows from India, you create the super Angus? Yeah.
So they were afraid that if Black people and Irish people got together.
No, they were actively doing that.
Oh,
and they found their super Angus. They found their super Angus.
Wow.
Well,
so they purposely made Black and Irish people do that in order to come up with some super race?
It was super strong slaves.
Yeah. They basically wanted super soldier slaves.
Wow. But why that particular mix specifically? That's what I'm curious about.
It was two slaves. It was just two races of slaves. Probably what happened is two of them got married, like actually married, and they found out.
Yeah, you take two groups of subservient people, make them mix, make them stronger, and hopefully they stay subservient.
Yeah. Good Lord.
Evidently, that was not the case, thank goodness. But, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't say subservient. Were they... Again, from the reports I read, they were much bigger, much stronger.
I know this isn't the topic at hand, but now I'm just picturing a really big Black Irish dude.
Always after me, Lucky Charms.
Oh my goodness! But yeah, this is now that I've broken GQ and Justin's brains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I'm gonna need a drink after this.
History is much more morbid.
It is.
And on that, that's exactly why the whole idea of critical race theory is so scary to some people, because I find it amazing. They don't mind teaching Black people that their ancestors used to be livestock and property, but they do mind teaching white people that they used to treat people like livestock and like property.
That's true.
I mean,
not to mention,
maybe it was
the funny thing is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I apologize, I didn't mean to cut you off. Maybe it was just my teachers, but we were taught that. We were taught that already in schools. Are there really schools out in the country that aren't teaching that? Because if there are, they're stupid.
Believe it or not, it depends on the state. They breeze over it. They breeze over it. Yeah. They'll mention it just for the sake of saying they mentioned it, and then they fast forward something else because they don't want to stay on that particular topic. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, you're bringing that up again? But yeah, slavery was 400 years ago.
Or they'll say something, like some teacher shit, like, yeah, this is part of the text, but it won't be on the exam, so you don't need to know anything about it.
Yeah. But in the same breath, they'll say, that the Holocaust is extremely important to remember.
Can I say I kind of put both in the same category? Like,
absolutely.
Right, but that's my problem. They'll talk abundantly about the Holocaust and how terrible it was, and it's such a terrible thing, and thank God we moved past that. But they don't want to talk about slavery the same way.
And it needs to, I do think.
And they always want to skate past it. Like, yeah, slavery happened. Get over it. We elected a black president. Shut up. Like, first off, you didn't elect that black president. You did everything you could to stop him from being elected.
Not to mention, even that was strategic to me. I think that was to kind of ease racial tensions for that period.
No offense to Obama, but they found the whitest black dude they could find, and they're like, all right, we'll take this one.
They did. He wasn't, let's be real, he wasn't like 100% us.
Also, let's remember who his VP was. His VP was Grandpa Joe.
Yeah. And not keep in mind, people keep forgetting this. Again, if you forget history, you're doomed to repeat it. Joe Biden was one of the, he did not want any sort of civil rights shit to pass.
Not back when he was first in Congress. No.
Yeah, like I've watched some old videos of Joe Biden from way back in the day. He was one racist son of a bitch.
Yes, he was. There
maybe still is. I don't know. I believe that people can change, so I will give him the benefit of the doubt. But you never fucking know.
Have you guys seen the Hillary Clinton Halloween costume?
No.
What?
Look up Hillary Clinton dressed or Halloween costume, black woman.
Oh wow! Hold on. Did she have hot sauce in her bag?
No, like she painted herself like a black
actor. Did do that for like a press conference or something one time. She was trying to appeal to black voters, and she was like, "Yeah, I always have hot sauce in my purse."
She painted herself like I can't describe it. You have to look up the picture. I'm watching both of you guys' faces right now as you find this.
Shut the fuck!
She didn't do that. That's not her. Hold on.
That is absolutely
that can't be her. That's not her. That can't be her.
Is it her?
It is. I am 1,000% positive.
At a costume party.
Yup.
What the?
What's messed up is I can't really look at this picture and know if it's really her.
Exactly. It's impossible to tell.
We lost GQ.
I think we broke him.
I broke his brain.
Or we pissed off the NSA and they're shutting us down.
It's fine. It's fine.
But I do agree with what you were saying regarding critical race theory. It's something that needs to be taught from the ground up. Because it's like, I believe I was telling you about this one time. I saw this interview, it was like a town hall or something. And this gentleman was talking, well, I say gentleman. But someone asked him, about the education system and what have you. And he said that, I just want my kids to learn that, this is America and the worst day in America is still better than the best day anywhere else. I'm like, have you been anywhere else?
Yeah. But the problem, this is what, so we broke GQ. GQ's back.
I don't know how I got disconnected. I
broke his brain and it disconnected his internet. And
I feel like it did because I was on my phone all that time.
We messed up your brain so hard, your Wi-Fi just said, "Fuck this."
For reason, the phone decided to overheat at that moment.
It's Hillary. Like I'm telling you guys, it's Hillary. It's Hillary. Like I'm saying.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
GQ, do you hear us?
Okay, now my sound is off. Hold on.
Nothing suspicious about this whatsoever.
Right?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear
It
us?
was muted for whatever reason. Yo, it's
Okay.
interesting how we're having all these technical glitches during this type of show.
Right?
We were saying that just
Yeah.
as you got disconnected.
Like, it's got to be Hillary in that picture.
Not necessarily gotta be, but it's likely that it is.
With all the technical
makes
glitches
sense.
we're now having, it's
Yo,
She's
whole
hacking us from her
episode-
private server.
Let's look at all of the things that we've done in the past with the spoiler talks. For the most part, 90% of the show had no glitches.
and this
We
one.
do this show where we cover these topics, and we have so many glitches. The internet decides to be funky, and there's something to it. I think we should continue doing this, just so people can watch it and witness it firsthand. That there's something going on behind the scenes where they don't want us to talk about this.
So I have a public proposal because I want to verbally talk about it. Because I think if I text it to everybody, people are gonna be like, I don't want to do this. But if I tell you guys, it sounds like you get the feel for it. There's some I vaguely messaged GQ about it. It's called the 411 phenomena. So David Paulides, a former state police investigator, has put together literally thousands of cases of just people going missing in national parks. And it's people that have like survival training, a lot of them. But they just disappear without a trace. Most of them are never found. Some of them come back with very weird stories. Like there was one gentleman that went missing for 15 months. Like he went backpacking out in the middle of nowhere, never came back, went missing for 15 months, and claims he woke up in a field about 10 miles away from his aunt and uncle with running gear on and a ribbon in his backpack saying he did a marathon. And he has no recollection of any of it.
Abducted by aliens?
So you know what that's similar to, right? And this is circling back to the predictive programming. Manifest. You know about Manifest? The show Manifest?
I've heard about it. I've been told to check it out.
And reappeared years later. Apparently, there's a real plane that disappeared and reappeared like 17-something years later.
Wait, that's based off of what?
I don't know if it's based off of the same plane, but there is a plane that I read somewhere that it disappeared and reappeared 17 years later.
Oh, I think I saw. Isn't it like Flight 16 or something like that?
Later. Well, matter of fact, let me see if I can look it up. Let me get rid of this despicable Hillary picture that I still have up for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's because you're like torturing yourself. Like,
it's not self-loathing if it's educational.
That's fair. That's fair. But there are hundreds of these stories, including or not hundreds, but thousands of these stories, including, what is it? There is a string of college kids, like college men between the ages of 18 and 25, going missing and being found in bodies of water with no water in their lungs. And either, what's the name of that sedative? Is it GDP? Is that or high amounts of antidepressants which act like GDP when they're mixed with alcohol. But they keep getting labeled accidental drownings. But there's no water in their lungs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Wait.
So they drowned without drowning.
So wait, I think I found it.
Do we all need to look this up now?
Montego Air Flight 828. Look that up. Flight 828, Montego Air.
Look at that.
People are saying that's what the TV show Manifest was based on.
That is the first thing that Wiki tells me.
Yeah, that's the first thing that pops up.
This is based on that 2013.
And I made a slight error. I said 17, more like 37 years later. What are you seeing?
That's what I'm seeing. It's like the first thing it mentions is the story of Manifest. And then it's like, do you want to, like, this is the story. It's
okay,
really
so what I'm finding is, so the Montego Air Flight 828 left Montego Bay, Jamaica to JFK in New York on April 7, 2013, and landed on November 4th, 2018. So it was like 5 years.
That was the story of Manifest.
Okay.
So they literally.
Okay, so that was Manifest then.
They took the name of the flight then. They literally took the name of the flight. They just changed the dates.
Son of a bitch.
So
I'm never getting on an airplane again.
You know what's interesting? So they do a lot of these TV shows and movies, and they base it on, real events that have happened already. But then, if we're talking about predictive programming, those are events that are based on stuff that is either happening currently or will happen that people have inside knowledge of.
So, did you guys ever watch Law and Order SVU?
They play it out
of
on
course.
a screen. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't keep going, GQ. Keep on.
Jake?
Can you hear us?
Oh no, yeah. I definitely watch Law and Order.
Do you guys remember the SVU? I can see you.
Yeah, we see you, buddy.
There's just a huge lag, I think, on your side.
Mm-hmm.
So, SVU, you know how like they have at the beginning of some of the episodes, while this is loosely based off of real events, this does not actually portray the events. Viewer discretion is advised, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever go and look up the stories, they're usually substantially worse. Like, a lot worse. Like, almost unbelievable worse. Like,
well, of course. They go into like things. SVU is about things like rape and murder.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely have to lighten it a bit to keep it at their PG-13 level. So
there was a story, and I actually knew the original version of the story, and I looked it up to show it to my wife to confirm it. There was a story they covered of a maintenance worker for a synagogue, like a Jewish synagogue, where the guy had a sex dungeon that he would keep prisoners in. And in the show, I think there were 5 girls, 2 of which died. Triple that, and that's really what happened.
Son of a bitch.
And it's just like reality is so much like stranger than fiction, to the point where Hollywood goes, this is so unbelievable, I can't even put this on TV because people won't believe it. We got to cut the numbers down so it's more believable.
Wow.
Like, I'm never going to New York. New York, I feel like, is just as dangerous of a city.
Oh, no, yeah. There I agree with you. I don't know why, but I've always been very iffy about going to New York. The place just seems like it's dangerous.
Like
no matter how gentrified it is, New York is kind of like the hub of just so much criminal activity that I avoid the place.
Now that I've broken GQ for the 5th time this episode.
Yeah, because like me and GQ, both our dads used to live in New York.
I don't know what's going on with everything with guys say. For some strange reason, now my computer wants to act crazy and scramble everything. And sometimes I'll hear like the last bit of what you say, or the beginning, or it speeds up and then slows down, or speeds up and slows down.
It's a conspiracy within a conspiracy.
Excuse me, Mr. NSA man, who's currently monitoring this call. Do you mind fucking off? Thank you.
We watch some of this when I get the actual playback.
Uh, I feel like my lack of a filter is what's gonna make me the first one to disappear. So if I do, just know that I did not kill myself in prison. I'm putting that on the record right fucking now.
Yep, me too. But
let's be honest, if I ever go to prison, first thing I'm gonna do is just start reading a bunch of books and getting jacked.
Did we lose GQ again?
I think so. Yep, there he goes.
Justin and Robbie. That needs to be a thing.
If the ADHD hour with Justin and Robbie.
Where we have like one topic and we see how long we can stay on that topic and how far down whatever rabbit hole we go.
Oh, that would be fun actually. I'm pretty down for that.
That would be hilarious. Like, we're such polar opposite personalities that it just works.
Like we're very opposite, but at the same time we have the same problem with staying on topic. So it would be phenomenal just to see where we end up.
All day. But like,
wait, the topic was airplanes. How did we end up on prostitution in Peru? I don't know, but here we are.
We need to do we kind of keep track of where things actually went, and that's kind of our conclusion of like, how do we circle back? We don't.
Do
we have GQ again?
Sort of. Look who's back.
I don't know why it keeps doing this.
So while you were gone, GQ, we came up with a new show idea. It's called ADHD Hour with Robbie and Justin, or Justin and Robbie.
What is it called?
Same. The ADHD Hour with Robbie and Justin.
The ADHD. That's perfect.
just to see how far the rabbit hole we go.
Like, just pick one topic and see
how many other topics you can go into while talking about just one topic. Are you guys on the Stereo app by any chance?
No.
Stereo.
Download Stereo. Because
I don't believe
what I would like to do is, in the event that we can't do a video meeting, we can do a stereo session in which we could talk just like we're talking now, but instead of seeing our faces, we'll have animated avatars talking for us.
Oh, please have that.
That would be great.
Oh my goodness.
So I think because me and Dwayne used to do that every week for a show we used to do called GQ and Dwayne Talk Movies and TV. We're probably going to resume that once fall starts, because my summer schedule was not allowing me to, but we're going to get back into it when fall starts.
That just sounds like an acid trip. I think
you guys should do it.
That just sounds like an acid trip.
It's so cool.
I'm always down to talk movies because I was telling you guys, I'm thinking of just getting the Regal Unlimited Pass.
Okay.
And just go see 5 movies every weekend.
So wait a minute. So you're gonna get the Regal Unlimited Pass over the AMC what is it called? The A-list membership?
I don't know how there's not a lot of AMC theaters in my area, at least.
Okay. So you have more.
And Regal. Also, yeah, there's a Regal right down the street. Also, with how many movies can you go see with AMC? Is it also unlimited, or?
I think it's unlimited as well.
Okay, because AMC definitely has better seats.
So yes. I was gonna say,
no offense, Regal.
I was gonna say the matinee, you can get the recliner chairs on a matinee for matinee price at AMC. It's absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I'll pay $6.50 for a recliner chair at a movie theater. Yes, please.
Oh, absolutely.
So when we conclude the show, I'm going to send you a stereo invite, because if we can't do a video meeting, we'll do it on stereo, and then I'll just upload the stereo session.
That works.
And you're going to love how you look as an animated character, because it's so cool.
That's going to be hilarious.
It's so cool. It talks when you talk, and you could have up to, I think, 10 people per session.
You know who I want to see? I want to see Emery. I want to see Emery's avatar.
She has one. She's on there.
What? Why did I know about this?
She's on stereo.
Emery, if you're watching this, why did I know about this?
As a matter of fact, she did a show with Shamoon called That Marvel Chat.
And they didn't even invite us.
Sure.
Well, at that time, stereo would only allow 2 people at a time. But now with the updates, you could have up to like 10 people.
So basically, like, what was it? Not StreamYard. What was the other one?
Okay, so think of what's the one that's on iPhone only?
I don't do iPhone.
Like you're supposed to you're only able to do it through invite. Oh gosh, what is it called?
FaceTime?
No, not FaceTime. It's like this thing where Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
Oh.
Okay.
It's like Clubhouse, but better.
So now that we've
It's
gone
like Clubhouse, you have a picture of yourself, and then you just get into a little room, and everybody just talks. Whereas Stereo, you have an animated avatar that talks. And the cool thing about this show is listeners could listen and leave voice comments that you could play live on the air on the show and respond to them. And the thing is, you never know who's going to ask you or say something in your show. So us three could be talking right now, and then all of a sudden we'll get an alert. Oh, we got a voice comment. Let's see what it says. And we press play, and we could play it during the show. It's really cool.
That sounds pretty cool, yeah.
So I think we could do a back and forth thing between this and Stereo.
I really want to
and make it a thing. Yeah, because Stereo is awesome.
Okay, actually,
Stereo is awesome.
If you don't mind me taking it back to one of our previous topics, I just want to say something hilarious that I saw the other day about critical race theory. So there's this teacher at a Catholic school, and a parent approached her asking, "Will you be teaching about critical race theory to my children?" The teacher just didn't answer, looked straight into this parent's eyes and said, "Define what critical race theory is, and I'll tell you whether or not I teach it." That the parent couldn't respond because they didn't know what the hell it means.
Wow.
People are afraid of what they don't understand. It's that simple.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's the truth.
Agreed.
That's why I never got Google glasses. I was afraid my glasses would get a computer virus. That would suck.
That'd be hilarious.
Imagine your glasses having a computer virus. Like, I'm looking at you, and then suddenly, instead of GQ, I see, oh no, his dad. I'm like, Uncle?
You know what? That reminds me of a movie. Whenever you guys get a chance, go on Netflix and look up a movie called Anon, A-N-O-N.
Okay.
Everybody has like these digital video feeds in their brains.
Oh, I've seen this. I've seen the
and there was this person that was hacking into people's feeds and changing what they see and causing them to so let's say, for example, I'm sitting in a car. I'm sitting in a car and I'm driving and I get to a stop sign. I'm looking both ways. There are no cars, or so I think, because then I drive forward and I get hit by a semi-truck because my visual feed was being fed an empty street when in actuality, streets were very busy.
That's horrifying.
It's very hard.
It really is.
Yeah. It's. Let me see if I could find the trailer.
And again, that sounds like the plot of a Black Mirror episode. Hell, you could do an entire podcast on just Black Mirror because of the amount of shit that they've covered on that show.
Yo, I think we should talk about. I think we should talk about Black Mirror because I've watched every single
episode called, I think it was Archangel, where the mom had that implanted into her daughter.
Yes.
So, anytime Robbie, have you seen that one? Like, anytime the daughter would see certain things, it would trigger like a self-defense mechanism. So, like, if she would see blood, the blood would get blurry. So the daughter one day grabbed a pencil while she was drawing and stabbed herself to see if she would see herself bleed, and she couldn't even see her own blood. It blurred out her own blood. She couldn't even see herself bleed.
That's dangerous
because of an implant that her mom put in.
So now, it's basically
to the credit of the people in that show, the government banned that program, but the daughter still had it implanted, and her mom was still keeping track of her. So imagine you're 6, so she was like 16 or something, doing cocaine or something with her boyfriend, and her mom saw that through the live feed that she got on her tablet.
It's basically censorship in real time.
That's horrifying.
I mean, yeah.
So
it's censorship in real time.
Which is why even if they ever do make like what's it called, technological glasses or contact lenses, I will never get them. I would never do that.
Well, you know what? I would just out of curiosity mess with the glasses. I would not mess with the lenses.
Like I love the Kingsman movies as much as the next guy. I think they're phenomenal, but those glasses are terrifying also. Because, you see things and they can zoom in on people and tell you who's who and whatever about them. But
I got to believe there's technology out there like that.
Oh, absolutely. That on the topic of predictive programming, Kingsman has a lot of cool shit. Those glasses are going to happen within the next 10 years.
If they haven't already happened.
If they don't exist already, because you have to remember,
they already exist.
everything.
I mean, they're going to be released to the public within the next 10 years.
I was just going to say, because with anything that the public has, the government has something that's maybe 10 years more advanced.
Yeah, it's like, for example, Bumblebee. You seen that movie?
Yeah.
They were talking about how Autobots, or Decepticons, I'm not sure which, came to Earth forever ago, and they have slowly been releasing that technology to the public, even though they've already had it since.
But they won't release things. They won't release things to the public unless they have something better to keep to themselves.
Unless they have something that they can use to control it or monitor it.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to release smartphones to the public unless they have some sort of technology that can hack these smartphones.
Or control it.
Turn it into a microphone. Or control them. So it's just like how you and I right now, say we're talking about kitchen knives, like the best kind of kitchen knives that I saw in Forged in Fire that can cut through anything.
Now if I go on ads for kitchen knives, you jerk.
If I go on Facebook now, I'm suddenly gonna have ads for that shit.
Yeah. Now look at Mitch Savage. Mitch Savage is saying that his data says he's not allowed to talk. Probably because Mitch Savage probably has some real stuff to say, and the government is intercepting him.
I haven't interacted with him enough, but I feel like he would have said some amazing stuff on this one.
Well, his name is Savage. That should be enough.
Which means his filter is even more destroyed than mine is, which is saying something.
Yeah.
So now that we've covered 10 different topics in one episode, all within an hour.
Definitely. So yeah, let's wrap it up before we go too crazy. But before we go, I think we should have a vote as to what the next episode should be about, so people can know what they could look forward to. Mitch Savage, I see you in the chat. Let us know what you think we should talk about on our next episode, and then
another thing that I think would be interesting, if we GQ plug your Twitter handle.
Okay.
I believe it's at GQ of those people. Is it?
Yes, sir.
If there's anyone listening right now who has some sort of idea as to what you would like to hear on here, go to this man's Twitter and put in the hashtag tinfoil hats and let us know what you want to hear about.
Excellent idea, Sir Justin. I like it.
Thank you very much. I occasionally have one.
I will make sure that I reiterate what you just said on my Facebook feed as well as my Instagram as well. Do you guys have any inklings of what you may want to discuss on our next episode?
I'm sticking with one. I was
going to talk about disappearing airplanes, actually, but I was going to say disappearing airplanes, but we kind of sort of went over that today.
We kind of did.
But that, at the same time, that could also be expanded upon from where we
did. The Bermuda Triangle.
Exactly. Like we just scratched. I still do believe we should do an episode on the Bermuda Triangle.
The Great Lake, not just the Bermuda Triangle. I want to do the triangle. Like there are multiple geographical areas that are approximately a triangle. Like there's something called the Great Lakes Triangle.
Okay, so how about this? Let's agree. Next episode, we're going to talk about those triangles as well as the hollow Earth theory.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Because once again, that kind of plays hand in hand with the predictive programming, because we saw this in Godzilla versus Kong.
The hollow Earth theory, yeah. the Hollow Earth theory was very much covered in Godzilla versus Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they started on that in King of the Monsters.
They did, but they went like very deep.
Oh, that's what I forgot.
Kong.
So, remember when we were talking the other day about this topic before we got on, and I was saying how that article I read mentioned The Dark Knight Rises, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about the Dark Knight and sonar technology, but apparently they were talking about Sandy Hook. How that was predicted in The Dark Knight Rises.
It was.
Apparently Sandy Hook was on the map that they showed of areas that were hang on, let me
Gotta be kidding me.
Hang on, one sec. Let me find this really quickly. Because that kind of that kind of scared me there.
That's gross.
Don't do this.
It really is. Where are you? Come on.
This is dark. Like, I feel moderately uncomfortable right now.
Proposed that Sandy Hook shooting was predicted in The Dark Knight Rises because Dark Knight Rises is because Sandy Hook is shown on the map in one of those scenes. So the idea behind it is that it was shown there so that when it did happen, which it did happen, the public would be desensitized to it, which, let's be honest, at this stage in American history where we are now, we hear about a shooting and we barely even flinch anymore.
Because it's become so frequent.
Shootings in the United States have become so frequent that it's basically part of the fucking culture.
It's like, oh, another one?
Well,
shit.
Did you hear about the guy that tried to start a shooting in Texas the other day?
No.
He got stoned to death. He shot he shot into a crowd, and he did it in Texas. And so the Texans came in, chased him down, and stoned him to death.
To everyone in Texas who stoned this man to death, you have my goddamn respect.
Wow.
I'm sorry. You try to kill people, you get what you get.
Yeah, you try to commit mass murder, and now the masses,
especially in Texas. Who the fuck goes to Texas and thinks, I'm going to start shooting and not get shot back?
Not smart.
So, fun fact, the last time there was someone attempted a shooting in Utah, it was called the Fashion Place shooting in the mall. But we actually have looser gun laws than Texas. And so it ended up being a 3-on-1 versus an off-duty cop and 2 guys with concealed carry versus the gunman.
Talk about a handicap match.
I'm assuming they turned him into Swiss cheese.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
As one might say, 50 Cent got nothing on him.
Hey.
So let's save this. Let's save this because I like this. Here's another question. Since we're going to talk about those triangles as well as the Hollow Earth theory, are we doing StreamYard or are we doing stereo?
I want to try stereo.
I'm down to try stereo
for the next episode. So you guys will not see us here on YouTube, but you will be getting alerts to find us on stereo. That means Robbie, get to work on that avatar, and Justin, you get to work on that avatar.
I already downloaded the app just now.
Awesome. But until next time, we are out. I think we need a catchphrase. We need a catchphrase.
If I may just say, just a friendly reminder, people, go on Twitter to @GQ of those people. If there's something you'd like to hear us talk about, just put in the hashtag tinfoil hats and, let us know what your thoughts are.
Let us know what you want to talk about.
Don't forget, keep them aliens out of your brains.
Hey, that's the closer. Don't forget, keep those aliens out of your brains. And with that, we are out.
Till next time.